everyone, it's Clipsy, your comfy space bear, with a little lesson on what clipping layers are and how to use them effectively. So I'm using the program Clip Studio Paint, but this should be about the same in any art program. First of all, I'm on a normal layer here. Let's just draw a basic shape so you can understand how this works. So here's my shape on just a regular basic layer. Now let's make a new layer. And let's say I want to do some detailing on this. Maybe I want to do some shading. First of all, I can change the color of this star without having to carefully redraw the whole thing by locking my layer here. It says lock transparent pixels. And what that does is make me unable to draw outside of the star. So you can see how when I draw, everything's inside what I've already drawn on this layer. Now on this second layer, this is where we're going to do the shading. So let's pick a darker tone. And when I just start drawing on top of this layer, as you can clearly see, I go outside of the star. If I don't want anything to go outside of it, I can press this button right here, and this says Clip to Layer Below. This is how you create a clipping layer. When I press that, you'll notice this little bar here that shows that that is connected to this. And so now, just like locking the pixels on this layer, but now it's on its own layer, I cannot draw outside of this star. Everything I put on this layer will go on top of this layer and not in any other space on the canvas. So now, I can make shadows exactly where I want them without bleeding out into here and having to be extra cautious of where I'm putting them. And you can also erase bits away without worrying about erasing the star underneath, which is one benefit of doing a clipping layer rather than locking the pixels. So being able to add highlights and shadows wherever you want is really the biggest use of the clipping layers, but there are also other ways that you can use this. So feel free to play around with it and see what all is possible with this tool. It's a really good tool to have under your belt. Also, you can add as many clipping layers as you want onto one regular layer. So let's add new layer, add clipping layer, and see now these are both clipped to that star. So if I wanted to do another detail on top without interfering with this shading and highlighting, I can do that and still have the clipping layer effects and not interfere with this layer by adding another clipping layer. And you can do that indefinitely pretty much. So all of these layers are clipped onto this layer. You can also clip a layer to a folder. So for example, this folder here contains all of these layers. When I hide that folder, they're all inside there. And folders are really useful for keeping things organized. But something else you can do with them, with clipping layers, is you can clip this right above the folder. And now this layer is clipped not to an individual layer, but to this entire folder. So now what I can do is draw on top of any of these layers that are within that folder. And a great use for this is to use multiply or overlay or any of these tools. And what these do is basically create a filter over top of whatever you're putting it on. If you have it unclipped, it'll just apply it to the entire canvas. But if you have it clipped onto a folder like this, then it's only going to be on top of your subjects. So right now I have this as an overlay layer, and it overlays this pink color on top of everything. So it's not solid, it's just creating a pink hue over everything. It's shifting that color of everything, including the highlights and the shading, and keeping them there. They're just a different hue now. And I can adjust this, I can bring it down, and this can kind of bring my color palette together and make the piece match a little nicer. Or I can make this a multiply layer, and this will multiply or double any color I use. So right now I'm drawing with the exact color of the star. But because I'm using multiply, what it's actually doing is just intensifying that bottom color. So a lot of artists use this for shading, so you can create depth without worrying about changing the color you're using for every single color of your drawing. So there's another tool in your arsenal, and another way that you can use clipping layers. So have fun creating. If there's anything else that you would like to learn how to do with your art program, or maybe even with traditional supplies, let me know in the comments, and I'll see if I can do a little tutorial on that as well. Thanks for stopping by my comfy little bear cave, and I'll see you next time.